So, welcome everyone to the First Nations information session on the Community Capacity Emergency Management Program. This invitation was only sent to grant holders, and the intent is just to see if there's any questions people have about the program as per the category that you were funded, or any reporting requirements, or even if you'd like a progress payment. My name's Casey La Rochelle. I work with strategic partnerships and finesse, and I'm Zooming today from Nanaimo territory in Nanaimo, where I pretty much grew up, and I'm from the Haisla Nation. I'll call upon people if you could introduce yourself, and if you have a very specific question about the Community Capacity Emergency Management Program, we call that the CCEMP for short. By all means, ask the question and I'll try to cover it in the brief presentation. We've scheduled 90 minutes for this, but we could super easily be done in half that time, depending on whether people have questions. And if there's any follow-up needed, I'm happy to arrange Zoom meetings with people. So with that being said, Wade, if you would like to introduce yourself and any question you may have.
My name is Wade Ostrich. I work at Yakut First Nation, Tobacco Plains in Grassmere. I've taken on the role as director 2 months ago, so I'm still trying to pick up where the last guy left off, but I'm not sure I'm caught up enough to have questions at this time. So,
thank you, Wade. Barbara McCrae.
Hello, my name is Barb McCrae. I'm the new health director, so I'm also new in this role. So I don't have a lot of questions, but I'm sure if I do, I know who to contact. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Stephen Cochran.
Yes, it's well, everybody. I'm Stephen Cochran, the community manager here, calling in from the Nanaimo First Nation territory. Good to see you, Casey, and a lot of these friendly faces that I see on there. I don't have any specific questions. I do. I'm looking forward to getting some more information as we're kind of in the mix here. So thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Trudy Peterson.
Hi, everyone. Trudy Peterson. I work and live here in the on the Smokemean Reserve in the Okanagan Territory, and I'm a preparedness specialist with Finesse.
Thank you, Trudy. Randy Lee Morgan, good to see you, and thank you for submitting a super awesome final report. It was very appreciated, all the work you've been doing.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here. My name is Randy Lee Morgan. I'm the EPC for Gitwangak First Nations. My contract currently ends in, what day is it today? In like 6 days. So from now until then, I'm actually supposed to be on my holidays, but I have so many loose ends that are like, I need to get done. So my question is, for future, is this funding for CCM, is that in the talks for like extensions for the future?
I can note that in the overview of the program guide and give the update on the latest of what I know where the leadership are at with that.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Randy Lee. Maurice Evans.
Sorry, did Randy still have something? No, okay. Yeah, Maurice Evans. So I'm actually kind of basically working on some UBCM grants, the UCS grants, trying to get them finalized. My last day is to be September 30th. So I will be working hard to try to get the rest of this work done. I know that there is still some funding, but I think our goal is to hopefully, we're funded for Fire Smart Coordinator, and hopefully have that person start with some time for me to transition over some of the files to them. But I've kind of told Colleen I could be available to continue working on this if they want, but we'll see where it goes. But yeah, I appreciate the template because I was kind of looking for what exactly are the expectations here. I mean, I do know what what the proposal said, and I think we've more or less met the objectives there. But yeah, anyway, that for now, Casey, appreciate always the circle here.
Thank you. And the reporting template is a suggestion that pertains more to the staff positions. And I'll explain that in the guide, that for the unmet needs, a simple email and receipts should suffice for a final report for that, for the smaller amount that we fund.
Sorry, what is that?
The suggested reporting template is more for category 2 for the staff position, and the category 1, which is the 30,000 for unmet needs. That one there, if we simply get an email indicating the tasks have been done, the items purchased, and receipt showing the expenditures, that's all we need for reporting for the smaller grant.
Okay, I don't even know if we got that one. I'll be honest.
I can confirm with you offline if need
Thank
be.
you.
Thanks. And does everyone know about the Fire Smart funding, the program guide, that now your Fire Smart coordinator can perform 20%, up to 20% of her or his duties on other tasks, including emergency management? And I think that's pretty good flexibility. It's not ideal. It doesn't replace a staff position, but it's a pretty flexible program.
Yeah, no, we were made aware last time, and that was good news. That I mean, yeah, it's an interesting thing because I mean, we're probably not in an emergency 20% of the time. So if you do the rest of the stuff and get ready, and certainly my goal in doing this was to basically train myself up so that I could volunteer and help them out once we're finished. So anyway, thanks again, Casey, for that.
Thank you. Gary Johnson.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm calling in from our Weewakai territory here. Yeah, I've been at this for just about a year, and still got a long ways to go, but I'll figure our way through that. But I actually don't have any specific questions. I just wanted to kind of, we spoke before, Casey, about the template and stuff, but I think this and everyone else kind of chiming in, and I think I'll probably get a lot out of this. So I'm really looking forward to this call here. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Sean Tronson. Sean, if you're able to introduce yourself and any question. Sorry, you must be on mute. You're on mute now, I can see. As an alternative, I wonder if you could put in the chat any questions you have, just in case we can't hear you. Thank you for that. Stephen, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, hi, Casey. I just wanted to put a shout out to Jeff from Finesse. He's been up here a couple of times helping us out with that Fire Smart, filling out the templates and helping us get along that point. So if you have access to him, I suggest you pull him in, because he made sense of it to us in an hour or less, and we're a lot closer to getting our thing filled out. So shout out to Jeff.
Good stuff. Florian Burgoyne.
Yeah, good morning. Florian Burgoyne here, Natural Resources Manager for Nasco First Nation. We've been receiving funds under the CCEM, I think. and CRI funding. So I think good to be part of this call and learn a little more about the reporting duties and how that's gonna all work out. I may have some questions pop in during the call, so thanks for sending me the invite.
Oh, you're very welcome. Cecile Brass, good to see you, Cecile.
Hi, Casey. Hello, everybody. My name's Cecile Brass. I'm the Emergency Management Advisor for Notlay Wooten First Nation. I'm actually in Notlay right now. Usually I'm on the island, but I'm up here for the week. Nice to see everyone, and nice to see you again, Casey.
Very good to see you. Bob Mills, you want to introduce yourself briefly?
Good morning, everyone. Bob Mills, Manager of Special Projects, Strategic Partnerships with First Nations Emergency Services Society, originally from Haida Gwaii, coming to you today from the traditional unceded territory of the Ntlaka'pamux people in what is now known as the City of Merritt.
Thank you, Bob. Jenny Freeman, Tlaman.
Casey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I put in the chat that I'd do my intro via the chat just because I wasn't sure if this would work. But thanks for the opportunity to join this meeting today. I received a lot of support from Trey Hale from Finesse when I applied for this grant. It was super helpful, so I'm grateful for the follow-up. Thanks, everyone. Good to see you today.
Thank you very much, Jenny. Breezy Webster, good to see you, Breezy.
Good morning, Breezy Webster here. I like learning that we're gonna need receipts for reporting. And a question, we didn't do our community engagement yet. So my question would be like, what can we use the funds for? Can we get awards / gift cards? Can that fall under that category, or like door prizes for those who come and attend to learn about emergency management? Like we'll have other agencies there to share what's in there. And yes, all those questions.
Okay, and we can cover that in the reporting. We usually just simply ask for an amended budget request, and then we review it internally and see if it meets the spirit and intent of the program, and then we do our best to approve.
Okay, so I'll need to ask you for an amendment budget request.
Yeah, just the amounts and stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Breezy. Jeff Avery.
Oh, I lost.
Hello all, Jeff Avery here with Adams Lake, Fire Chief, EPC, and Interim Safety Director. I guess my biggest question as Casey is, how can I find out if we were given this grant and how much? Because we've had quite a bit of turnover here. And one of my biggest challenges right now is I'm getting emails saying, hey, your report's due. And I didn't even know we had the grant and stuff like that. So that's kind of my biggest challenge right now is just finding what grants we have been approved for and how much that we have been given. And then so I can get started on a few things. And I know it sounds like it's coming to an end, but it's just kind of starting for me. So that's my biggest challenge right now.
Thanks, Jeff. And I can send you the funding approval letter, the original application, and we can ask our finance team to send a document that shows the payment was sent to the band electronically. I can follow up with you on that.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Olivia Lemke. Sorry if I got that wrong.
Hi, that's okay. My name is Olivia Lemke. I am the Fire Smart Coordinator for Spots and Indian Band. I actually am working alongside Sean Tronson, who is the Emergency Program Coordinator. I'm just here today to kind of get an overview and listen to other people's questions as well about this funding.
Thank you very much. Talisha Myra.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Talisha Myra. I EPC assistant at Squaw First Nation. I do not have any questions at the moment. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you very much. Jerry Bonilla.
Good morning. My name is Jerry Vanilla. I'm the Emergency Response Coordinator at Quick First Nation. Thank you so much for the invitation and organizing this, Casey.
You're very welcome. Rob John.
Good morning, everybody. Robert John and the Chatlet First Nations EPC Coordinator for Sabalis, Fair Harbor, Ooklatchee, and the Hattishit Chinnikit First Nations. Thank you for setting this up, Casey. Look forward to seeing the questions and answers part of this. And yeah, thank you. I have no questions at this time, Casey. If I do develop some questions, I'll email you about them.
For sure. And I'm happy to do one-on-one Zoom meetings with people after.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Allison Lohman. You're on mute, Allison.
Oh, I'm fuzzy too. Alison Lohman, I am with FNAS. I am calling from traditional territory of the Tanaka people. I am with the Preparedness Department, and I help support the development and revisions of all forms of emergency plans.
Thank you, Allison. Wendy from FNAS. Good to see you, Wendy.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Wendy Omiso, a preparedness supervisor. I'm here to listen to the support we might be able to offer, working alongside Casey as well with some of the nations here today. So thank you for coordinating this, Casey, and looking forward to the conversation today.
Thank you, and my thanks to the preparedness team for participating and supporting as always. Terry Kish.
Good morning, Casey. My name is Terry Kish. I'm Old Masset Emergency Services Manager and the GIS for here. I've just stepped into your meeting so I can hear what's going on and just gather information.
Thank you for making the time. Mary Venman.
I work with Stephen at the Tenema First Nation, and I'm the policy and proposal writer. And Stephen and I have been kind of doing a team tag, trying to rework around emergency management. We kind of have to take a step back because we don't have an emergency coordinator at the moment. And I've kind of been looking into the funding, and there's a lot of different funding. I haven't been aware of this one. I'm not aware of this one. So I'm interested to hear about the overview of the program. And because I take it from the group discussion, it's already been available, and I see it has to be spent by December 31st. So that could be a challenge for us. Thank you.
You're very welcome. You were cutting in and out a little bit. I don't know if you're on speakerphone. If you put your name and community in the chat, I can follow up with you later on today or tomorrow on this as well. Stephanie Esau.
Hi, good morning, Stephanie Esau. I work with the Katassi Nation in Clem2, BC, and much like a few other people on this call, I've just been made aware that we received this funding, and I'm trying to track down information on what we received it for, when we received it, the program we applied for. So I would love to connect with you on that to get more
Sure, and I'll throw my my email should be in the calendar invite. People can email me directly as well. Sean Tronson, we weren't able to hear you before. I wonder if you want to try again and unmute.
Just better. I don't know what happened there.
Sean Tronson, working with Splatson as EPC. Just glad to be here to figure out some more information on what the grants are for and just fact find, I guess. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm going to share screen. So this is the program guide, and if people would like a copy of this or the suggested reporting template, feel free to send me an email. I won't read it verbatim. So basically, I'll just give the highlight. This is one-time only funding that Finesse received from the province. We wanted to do our best to build community capacity in emergency management through two categories of funding. The first one we kind of call category one, unmet needs, and it's simply for a need that relates to the 4 pillars in emergency management, where there's either no funding, there isn't enough funding, funding comes once a year and then it runs out quickly, or it's non-existent. And we ask communities to give us a simple rationale for that. And then we tried to fund as flexibly as we could. And I believe we funded 18 unmet needs projects. I'm just going to go here to the end. And then here are some examples under category one. You could see these are just examples. It wasn't meant to be a full list. Things where communities may have a hard time finding funding. And we didn't limit it to just these, things like emergency medical, transportation, first responder training and program costs, drone purchases and training, community generators. So we funded 18 of those. And for reporting requirements, if a simple email indicating that the tasks have been done and the items in the proposal were purchased along with a receipt, and that's all we would need for a report under category one. Category two is for a staff position of up to a year, though we did give communities an extra 8 or 9 months to spend this money. We did 2 monthly intakes in March and April, I believe, of 2023. And we would have done a third batch, but we fully spent the money by then. And we managed to approve every application that was submitted by midnight on the last day of the month of that batch. And we ended up funding 56 staff positions. So they're called things like community safety officers. I think there might have been fire safety officers. There was community emergency management navigator positions. There was emergency program coordinator positions. Sometimes communities adopted a health and emergency response coordinator. And we weren't really too concerned with what the position was called, as long as they would commit to working on an emergency management program within their community. And so, the funding is meant to cover up to a year, but communities had a year and 8 months or a year and 9 months, depending on when the approval letter comes out. And so this funding must be spent by December 31st of this year. We've had a couple of requests for extensions, but we're not able to grant that, given that the program funding was really long duration. We required communities to engage our preparedness and response team at the time, who assisted in developing the applications. And then we had an internal committee and we reviewed and scored them. And then we we also allowed regional applications or partnerships, but we didn't really receive any applications for communities that wanted to partner and have more than the 80,000 funding. Here are the grant maximum. So the staff position category 2 is the 80,000, and the category 1 was 30,000 for the unmet needs. And communities can only apply for one or the other. And then we reviewed the applications. We took a lot of factors into consideration. Back in the day, we did an information session on this, and we circulated this program guide far and wide. And we tried to assess a lot of different factors in how we assessed and approved all these applications. We're very mindful that some communities are really rural and isolated, remote, and that we wanted to try to fund First Nations across all of BC and not kind of have too many clusters in any one part of BC. And I think to the main extent we achieved that. We generated a map that showed all of the funded positions as well as the category 1 unmet needs, and it was fairly well distributed across BC. And then the reporting requirements, like I mentioned, category 1, the 30,000, a simple email, just bullet points, that the tasks have been done, the items in the application, including the budget, were spent, as well as a receipt or an invoice showing payment. And that's all we would need for that. For a category 2, I'll go next to the suggested reporting template, but it's basically how the staff position tried to enhance their overall emergency management capacity. And that's something that, if it's being done by the person who did the work, I say to people, like, this is something you should be able to type out in 90 minutes or less. Like, we don't want it to be a really cumbersome reporting requirement. And then just simply providing unaudited financial statements showing the expenditure of that 80,000 for the staff position. We sent approval letters, and then we offered to mail a check, though we did prefer doing an electronic transfer of funds. So the majority of First Nations sent us a voided check to our finance team, and then we sent the 50% payment right off the bat of the grant amount, whether it's 30,000 or 80, we sent half the amount of whatever was applied for. And then upon submission and acceptance of a final report, there's the outstanding payment of the grant. In this section here, we do allow for progress payments. We've had a few communities, especially for the larger $80,000 grants, that requested a progress payment. And so we said, just fine tune the suggested narrative report, send that along with unaudited statement of expenditures from your finance team. And we pretty much reviewed and we approved them. So all the requests that have come forward. And then we're able to send a $20,000 progress payment. If any community wants or needs a progress payment, feel free to reach out and email me, and I can go over that with you if that would be helpful. Changes to approved projects must be submitted in writing. If this is a change in scope for either category, and then we usually ask for a budget, an amended budget that we can go over, so we could kind of see what's being requested for a change in budget expenditures. I'm going to stop sharing this. Then I'm going to share the Now, this is just a suggestion. Communities don't have to use this reporting template. This is just for category 2 if you were funded for a staff position. So just the name of the community, the date you submitted it, and then typing in these basic questions. And these were just suggestions of what we kind of thought an emergency management program could be, though communities can basically report on other things if it's not in this report. We inquire about the EOC development, training, updating of emergency plans, training and exercises, updates to these companion documents to your emergency plan, as well as applications for funding. And then we did our best to provide what we call funding calls, where we would kind of try to explain and connect them to staff for FireSmart or FNHA's funding at the time for communicable disease emergency or the wildfire resiliency plans. And then just a series of questions that people can type in their responses on their emergency plan. It's usually recommended that you do an annual review of your plan, update your emergency contacts, tweak it as needed on things like evacuation routes or lessons learned or any of your response plans. And then much like your comprehensive health and wellness plan, I think it's recommended that every 5 years you do a major rewrite of your emergency plan. And we encourage bands to apply for funding for that through ISC, through the EMAP program, the non-structural mitigation program. And then just anything on training, tabletops, any details that the community wishes to provide on the EOCs, whether it was activated for response to recovery or participation in neighboring communities. And what we'll try to do, and I'll speak to this later, I'm not sure of whether there'll be another CCEMP. I think we all know that leadership is advocating for staff positions in all communities. And if Finesse is asked to administer a program, we'll try to do a lessons learned and a review of this program, as well as how we can improve it. But we thought about kind of the metrics of it, like how do we report the success of this program and the value that you all bring for emergency management within your communities. So we will keep and retain all these reports, and we might do a kind of a snapshot of really what these staff positions accomplish for their communities. And then these are the funding meetings that I spoke of. Stephen, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, Casey, you and I have talked back and forth, but it seems to be an ongoing issue, and I don't know how many other nations are going through it, but I've been actively looking for a person to fill our role of the emergency program coordinator role for over 8 months. And it's not looking any better. I'm still posting it. I'm looking at it, posting it again this month to see if we can get that filled. Is anybody else coming up against that? And I do hear a couple on the call that are now got another week, or they're coming to their end of their programs and their contracts. And so if you want to come to the island, we got some space here for you.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that we've heard from a few communities, especially when there was funding for so many positions. And then just this one's a catch-all. Anything else that you think is important for the work that you've done in your emergency management programs, including alignment or overlap? So we all know there's huge overlap with occupational health and safety, with the First Nations in infrastructure investment plans, with CCP, even some of the health and wellness plans could have huge overlap with emergency management. Are there any specific questions about kind of the program guide that I've gone through or this suggested report? If anyone has a question, raise your hand. I'm just checking the chat if there's anything else.
I have a question. If we have any questions when we go over it thoroughly, I see it's in the calendar invite. Can we just email you for any questions afterwards?
Absolutely. And I always say to people, even if it's a 15-minute Zoom, you know, we can schedule that. I'll make myself available.
Thank you.
And my understanding, I'm not directly involved or in the know, but if many of you remember the Disaster Risk Reduction Action Plan by BC First Nations, that was approved by the chiefs, I believe, last fall. Recommendation number 19 calls for staff positions in all communities, similar to these roles. And then I know that finesse has been asked through the technical working group, I think with the multilateral discussions through our decision support team, to provide information on First Nations kind of most at risk for wildfire and for drought. And I think there's been further hazard rating presentation done to the Leadership Council on kind of all hazards risks. And then my understanding is the Leadership Council is advocating, and I'm assuming they're doing it in a variety of form, including the multilateral, stressing the importance of the funding for these positions to First Nations. And they're probably making those requests to both EMCR and ISK. Trudy or Bob, is that pretty much it, or is there anything else that either of you know of?
Sorry, Casey, you caught me not listening. I was reading the chat, responding to Jenny.
Oh, just my latest understanding on the advocacy that leadership is doing for these positions through the multilateral and future discussions on the disaster risk reduction plan.
Okay, yeah, I would have to say that there is a strong advocacy and recognition that, you know, there's huge value for these positions in community. And it's a matter of getting the means of the funding in place. So I'll let Bob comment more on that.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't find the buttons to come off mute. What Trudy says is true. I don't know how much more I can add to it. There is a strong advocacy for funding for emergency program coordinators in First Nations communities throughout BC. I'm just not sure where they are in terms of the negotiations. We are doing our best to support all of you during this negotiation phase. I believe they're just wrapping up phase 1. I believe there's 3 phases to the negotiations. And I'm sorry, I'm not part of those negotiations, so I don't know where they are. But I do know that EPC is very high on the priority list for First Nations Leadership Council to support each and every one of you.
Thank you, Bob. And I think it's fair to say that as the implementation discussions come forward about the disaster risk reduction action plan by BC First Nations, if Vanessa is asked to provide any technical support, I'm sure we will offer. And the First Nations Circle of Practice, I don't believe it's going away. I'm hoping that it's an ongoing thing supporting First Nations and our different finesse departments, decision support, especially preparedness. We'll continue to do our best to support First Nations as well. Stephen?
I can just add to that, Casey. I don't see this program stopping anytime soon. We'll continue to support all of you and every First Nation in BC in all 4 pillars of emergency management. And I really see the value in this circle of practice to get information both to you and from you. So thank you for your participation.
Thanks, Stephen, and then Breezy.
Thanks for that, Bob. That has anybody indicated though to you or now in the negotiations what nations are doing because of such a shortage? Because we're having to revert to own source funding because all of our past agreements that provided us funding initially through Finesse, which Casey and I've talked about a lot, but is now going more into Fire Smart and everything else. But what are nations doing in the interim? Because I'm trying to do this off the side of my desk as a community manager, be our emergency program person, our ESS, every kind of EOC director, all of this, as well as manage a community. So what are people doing?
My understanding, Stephen, is communities are doing much like yourself, trying to use whatever they have in the way of own source revenue to continue the program. And it's unfortunate that those who don't have that ability are letting their EPCs go that were funded under this program. And as you all know, that this was a one-time funding, and we just unfortunately did not have enough to see everybody through to this multilateral negotiation process. So I feel badly about it. But there's just really nothing that we could do in this interim. I'm not part of the negotiations. I'm not at that table. And so I'm sorry I'm not able to answer your question fully.
Okay, don't take it on yourself there, Bob. I know that there's a lot of people doing a lot of things behind the scenes. I was just inquiring because that's what is happening. I have a whole bunch of supplies and things in trailers, and our emergency program coordinator who was with us before, Krista, did a wonderful job to get it all up and running and everything else. And when she left, it was like, what do we do now? And nobody knew how to do what to do with all the stuff that we have. And I'm still looking at trying to come up with a solution to it. And well, I'm keeping us just, barely afloat, but I'm not anywhere near trained enough to put it into motion.
Well, just to let you know and everyone else listening, that's what we're here for also, Stephen, is to help you through that process. If you're not alone, I've seen other communities whose EPCs have left for whatever reason, funding or otherwise. A new person steps into that role and they're in shock. It's like sticker shock. What's been left, what still has to be done, and where to turn. Well, you can always turn to us because that's what we're here to do. We're here to help you wherever and whenever we can. And also know that if I can't help you, Stephen, I'll find somebody who can.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And I think in the approval letters that every grant holder received, the spending has to be done by December 31st of 2024. And then I think we give another 2 months. And so the final report, I think, is due in February, but it will be in people's approval letters. And so once we receive all those reports and review and approve them, I'm assuming we could be done the CCEM program by the end of March of 2025. And that's probably when I think we'll wrap up this program. The First Nations Circle of Practice is not officially a part of this program. So the information sessions in the circle will do our best to continue to support that. Are there any more questions people have? I put my email in the chat. I'm happy to arrange a Zoom meeting with people, especially if you need any supporting documentation about your grant.
Do you guys know anybody that goes to those DRAP meetings? When we started, there was a EOC modular from previous EPC, which was kind of storage, and then we went and got equipment, desks and chairs. And today I got my first hydro bill. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think any grants cover bills, right? So I was like, what do we do? Where do we cover our hydro bill? It looks like it's 40 a month because we're not in there, but it's kind of more for emergency. But regardless, we'll always have to keep the heat or air conditioning on for all the equipment in there.
What's the name of the program you mentioned at the beginning, Breezy?
No, we just have a EOC
Okay.
modular that our previous EPCs they ordered, but when I started it was the storage for pretty much anything and everything in the community. So since I got here, I've been the EPC for 2 years. We were able to get desks and chairs and our equipment set up in there to be prepared for an emergency. But yeah, today was our first hydro bill, so just trying to figure out like if anybody goes, if they can express those stresses. Like you have some will have EOCs and some may not, but then you have no grants that cover utilities.
Yeah, I'm wondering if part of that would be through the admin of various applications, just the
Yeah.
admin portion. I know that's not ideal, but that's all I can think of.
Yeah, I did ask that today, so we will find out shortly. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any further questions from anyone? And it's okay if they're not. We can reclaim a better part of our morning.
Hi, Casey. It's just more of a comment, just to support EPCs and particularly the ones that are struggling with EPCs and finding those people to fill those roles. Our department does support, as I say, with the development of plans and supporting taking your old plans, merging them with maybe another template or anything like that, whatever works for communities. And so if there is support needed, just reach out because we will try and do our best to see how we can facilitate any of that stuff. And again, obviously all of that's with no charge.
Thanks. Do you want to put a couple of emails in the chat? Cecile, I see your hand raised.
Hi, just wanted to share a little bit about what is currently happening at Nodley. It was Stephen's comment and question regarding, what other communities are doing when it comes to, if someone's leaving, like how are you finding anyone to fill a position or have an understanding like that of the program itself? If the people who were originally there are no longer there, how do you keep it going? One thing that Nodley has stumbled upon in some way, but also has realized has worked in other areas is training, just having ongoing training so that anyone who is working in the wildland firefighting crews here or the emergency management program is that we're trying to have as many people with transferable skills as possible. So when standing down, like there's no emergency, nothing imminent, the firefighters or emergency program coordinator, they're able to fill roles for environmental monitoring, cross-sharing with the lands and resources department where they maybe have some gaps in capacity. So just always offering training to anyone who is showing a willingness to do the work or and it seems to be working so far. So expanding job descriptions to be able to accommodate other areas of work within the Lands and Resources Department. And yeah, so that it's working so far, and there has been lots of movement in staff over the season, but we've been able to backfill those positions rather quickly because we're always making sure that we are training up whoever has made themselves known to want to do this work.
Thank you for sharing, Cecile. A coordinated effort and a team and a structure, I think, is always good to set up. And,
yeah. Well, when we there's also a lot of engagement with young people here, always talking to them, inviting them to, there's open training sessions now twice a week after the wildfire season is over for EOC and ESS. So just having those training sessions constantly scheduled so that everyone knows, hey, if you want to get your certification in this, show up on Tuesday evening. And making sure we're reaching out to members on SA who, just making it known, like there's opportunity here to make a lot more income than SA, and we'll try and work you into a full-time job all year. Of course, not setting unrealistic expectations and keeping those conversations open, but it's working so far. We got Ashley Heathcliff. I'm sitting here for her. I'm not Ashley. Ashley's worked miracles, and she's built an amazing team here, and a lot of succession planning. You could have two of the bosses gone, and there's people that could fill in. So it's a good plan so far. But if anyone wants to chat about that, yeah, just I know Ashley would be willing to share.
thanks. If you can share any contact information in the chat for anyone, that'd be great. Stephen.
I just want to respond, Cecile. Thank you so much for that, because that is brilliant. I wish I could be there at that time. 2 years ago, we had all of those information sessions and those people that we had readily available, so that if in the event somebody did fall short, then we could do that. And I think I'm going to I never even thought about the SA kind of idea and getting them busy and getting them active in their community. That's a great idea. And also a motivator to have people readily available in the event of an emergency. So when we activate our command center, then we have people for security, or people that can do fire, the people that can do flood, all those kind of things. So I will be chatting with you, or Ashley, is it? Sometime really soon.
I live on the island, so I'm only here for the week. If you'd like to chat in person, I'm in Nanaimo. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
thank you. And I see Brendan's joined, and Brendan and Bob, even though the CCEM program is one time only, the circle will continue, the information sessions will continue, finesse departments will continue to provide support. Any last words, Bob or Brendan, on decision support to First Nations, whether they have an EPC or they're just working on their EM program? And Bob, I wonder if you want to kind of remind people of the team's approach as well. Could either of you speak to that in closing?
The team's program? Excuse me. So part of the disaster risk sorry, Casey, I get that acronym mixed up. Disaster Risk Reduction Climate Adaptation Action Plan by First Nations BC. One of the items in there was to have First Nations people helping other First Nations people in times of emergency disasters. So what we've done is we've kind of reinvigorated our temporary emergency assignment management system, or finesse teams program, where we have trained First Nations people in operations of emergency operations centers, all the positions and the functions, as well as ESS trained people, Nations communities who want to be part of this program, to then be deployed out to, say, your community if you're having an extended activation of your EOC and something's going on in your community that you need the additional help. So we have the ability to deploy trained First Nations people to help out other communities who have extended activations of their EOCs. So that's just started. Unfortunately, it's a little bit late for this year, but we have that on the go. Hopefully we can carry that funding through to next year. And as far as those of you who have emergency programs and maybe lacking emergency program coordinators, I empathize with you because I know what that's like to be wearing multiple hats, doing multiple jobs off the side of your desk. But just remember that emergency management is a team effort. And you probably heard me say this before, we're part of your team. So don't forget that if you need help, call us and we'll do what we can to help you in your time of need. And again, as I've said previously, if I can't help you, I'll find somebody who can, because we're all in this together. We're one big team. So Finesse is part of your team. And I'll leave it there if Brendan has anything to add.
Yeah, I can probably add a couple of things quick. One of the many projects that we're doing on the decision support team is working with FNLC to put together a bit of a risk assessment. So in the future, there will be some more funding coming down the pipeline for EPCs. It kind of depends on that multilateral process, but I do believe there's some communications that will be going out to chiefs in the future about the status of where that's at, and any EPC funding that would be attached to that. They're probably best to speak to the nuances of all the negotiation stuff. So I can kind of leave it at decision supports, trying to help where we can to move that process along as quick as possible. Just hearing from folks on the call here all the time, with the limited funding, we definitely want to keep trying to push the boundaries and opportunities out there to make sure that we can get as much funding available to keep these positions going, because we realize how valuable and how successful folks have been working in directly with your communities. In regards to some of the decision support training, still kind of going ahead with ops ready training and showing communities how to do the mapping, different types of risk assessments. The need and demand far sort of outstrips our capacity, so we're certainly trying to catch up as best as we can to get to every community, ideally with in-person sessions and things like that in the future, but certainly doing some online sessions where we can with communities. We just finished our youth internship program in the month of August, so that trained another 20 youth across BC how to use some of the Ops Ready platform and make their own risk maps, and have some youth working here internally learning some of the systems. So pretty good last couple of months and I don't have the user statistics in front of me, but definitely seeing more and more people using it month over month for everything from fire safety assessments, hazard risk vulnerability assessments. Plenty of communities have done fire smart assessments. So a tool that has many different applications, sort of depending on what communities are going for. If you're building structure defense plans or things like that, yeah, feel free to give us a shout in decision support, and we'll be more than happy to help you with any of that data information, evacuation route planning, mapping, all this sort of stuff. So yeah, don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you, Brennan. And thank you, Wendy. In the chat, Wendy's put a description of the supports from the preparedness team. And Stephen, I think the last comment question is going to go to you, and then we can wrap up if there are no further.
I appreciate it, Casey. I just wanted to give people what we have been able to successfully acquire is that April Driver down at Emergency Management Cowichan is our basically emergency services responder, and they are excellent at what they do. They get everybody together, they get all the services that do, they create the task numbers and all that, and that's what I'm doing right now to cover me. But they are also sending to me Paul from Red Dragon Consulting. They're paying for the whole thing to establish emergency preparedness assessment that looks like, hey, what are your kind of bottleneck areas and your choke points, and where you would need to put resources into. And they're coming next week to have a tour of our nation and see where we're at. So I'm looking forward to that. And anybody on the island, they're doing a tour up and down the island, you can get onto that if you want. I can send you the link from April.
Thanks. And Bob, I see you put an email in there. Is that a correct email address?
Yeah, emails at finance.bc.ca.
Okay, so it has the e.b mills in your email?
E is for email.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. Cecile, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, just a quick question for Brendan. Of just the HRVA, well, reading Wendy's chat here, preparedness. So we also support EM plan review and revision, HRVA process. So Wendy or Brendan, when you say HRVA process, and I'm asking because we're doing a funding application right now to the DRIF fund, EMCR, and HRVA is one of the activities in this big project we have going. And are you guys able to actually conduct an HRVA, or does this mean that you will let nations know what needs to happen in that process? I just want, because if you guys can help, and we won't include that in our application, because right now we're applying for funds to conduct an HRVA. We were let know that if we wanted to do an HRVA with Finesse, and I'm not sure if this is correct, so please correct me if I'm wrong, that we had to be on Lightship. And I don't know if that's true or not, or if we misheard. So we just thought we better apply for some funding. But if Finesse is able to help with that, because the RD did theirs this past year, so we're able to build off of theirs. Anyway, if you can help, that'd be great.
For sure. Yeah, short answer is we can absolutely help in a couple different avenues with the HRVA. Some communities are super independent and want to do it all themselves. So we built a data collection tool that would allow them to just use the Ops Ready tool, go through all the hazards with their community, and then it would systematically score and rank them so that at the end of the day, you'd have a top 10 list of hazards as identified by community members. And then the other method, more hands-on, is getting Wendy's team directly involved, where they'll travel out to community, sit down, host the meetings, and then hear from folks, and then enter some of the data into the Lightship Ops Ready tool in the background. And then at the end of as soon as you hit save on the tool, you have a nice PDF printout, pie graphs of all the biggest hazards, top 10 list, all ranked and prioritized. So it takes some of the logistics and paperwork out of it. And then, of course, if Wendy's team is involved, then you have support for the whole thing along the way. And then we do have a climate resiliency team that can help with funding afterwards. I know you mentioned writing a DRIF application, but certainly if you need resources on that side of things too, more than happy to have them support.
Awesome. Okay, then we will take HRVA out of our application and just talk directly with you guys about that. I had a feeling that there was just a miscommunication there around that. And we'll reach out because we do want a new fire truck here. The fire truck we have is from 1995, and I went and saw it, and it's a beautiful thing, but it's very old and high mileage on it. So, but anyway, that's wonderful. I really appreciate that. So Brendan and Wendy, I will reach out. Thank you.
Thanks.
I just wanted to add on one thing there with Cecile. So with those meetings that we can conduct, we can do them online. We prefer to do some in person, but if you are looking at some of that funding as well, you might want to consider a little bit of funding to have the committee come together. So if you're putting in that funding, you might have your lunches there and just being mindful of the people that are coming. So yeah, we can support all of that virtually or in person. So yeah, a little bit of funding might help just to encourage them to come in and feed them a few good meals would be great. So, and I'd love to come up and visit as well. So we'll chat.
No, that's awesome. I appreciate that. I'll make sure our funding ask includes everything, but I know that Nodley is always willing to do whatever they need to get this stuff done. So thank you very much, Wendy.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. And I just want to acknowledge all the important work you all do in communities. This one-time program should wrap up by the end of next fiscal with reports, but the circle will continue, the sessions will continue. And like Bob says, we'll do our best to provide whatever supports we're capable of. We can reclaim part of our day. This session and the materials will be on the YouTube playlist for anyone that wants to review it, or if you want to refer someone to it who wasn't able to make today's session. So I'm just checking the chat. Yeah, Maurice, I'll follow up with you. And have a great day, everyone.
Have a great day.